Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the Premier about the Health Authority. In November, the then interim CEO of the authority, Janet Davison, described the NSHA this way: overtly complex and bureaucratic, confusing, and a structure that does not allow us to easily address challenges unique to individual zones, unquote. Does the Premier agree with Ms. Davison about the negative consequences of his government's focus on centralizing health services in Nova Scotia?
The Honourable Premier.
Speaker, I want to thank the member for the question. It's a very good question, and I want to thank Ms. Davis for her work as the interim CEO, Mr. Speaker, which she clearly highlighted, Mr. Speaker, and she articulated that the One Health Authority is an important thing for Nova Scotia. What she was referring to was that some decisions need to be made out in parts of the province, Mr. Speaker, in zones and areas. We agree with that. The health authorities agree with that, and there's action being taken to provide more site-based decision-making.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Mr. Speaker, the province's key health indicators have continued to worsen since the establishment of the NSHA. The percentage of people in the province with regular access to a healthcare provider has decreased. The percentage of people in the province who believe they are in good health has declined. And the number of people in the province reporting mental health problems has increased. I'll table this data. Does the Premier acknowledge that while his government has been focused on centralizing healthcare services, actual health indicators, key ones, have worsened in Nova Scotia?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've seen over the last number of years the number of people who are looking for primary care is going down. Mr. Speaker, more people are being attached to primary care teams across the province. We have the fourth best record in the entire country, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to attaching our citizens to primary caregivers. The honourable member, though, highlights a real issue, and part of that has been in the infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, within inside of our province. Not only in the massive investments we're making in our regional hospitals, Mr. Speaker, but the fact in collaborative care models that healthcare providers are telling us today, doctors, nurse practitioners, all telling us they want to work in a collaborative team. That's why we've continued to invest to ensure that we provide a collaborative care model around the province. And by doing so, Mr. Speaker, we're attracting more people to provide the very care the honourable member is referring to.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, despite centralization, health disparities between the regional zones are key characteristics of the period since the inauguration of the Health Authority. Life expectancy, for example, is almost 3 years lower in the eastern zone than it is in the central zone. Diabetes is nearly twice as prevalent in the eastern zone as it is in the central zone. So I want to ask the Premier, can he point to any evidence that this whole centralization project has done anything to significantly address geographic disparities in key health outcomes in Nova Scotia?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, what he is highlighting is the very fact, and some of the numbers you are quoting, Mr. Speaker, were part of the fractured healthcare system we had in this province. Under One Health Authority, we recognized, Mr. Speaker, the cancer rates in Cape Breton. We needed to make a substantial investment in cancer care in Cape Breton Island, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're continuing to do to respond. But under the old system, where it was fractured, Mr. Speaker, they were looking at it in 9 different ways and in 9 different lenses. This is one lens. But I will give the honourable member this thing, and we know this as we go through this. We are allowing more site-based management to continue, but we will continue to have an overarching umbrella how we deliver primary health care and acute care to our citizens in this province.